the day of departure of this dedicated lady, the Lady of Light, and the most beloved, the first and the most beloved wife of our Holy Prophet, peace be upon him. She was the most powerful and wealthy woman in Arabia, and she sacrificed everything she had, her wealth, her health, her fame, for the cause and the mission of her husband. Prophet Muhammad married Khadija 15 years before his prophethood. He was 25 and he became prophet when he was 40. But even at that time, Khadija welcomed him in her house, saying that the house is yours and I'm your servant. It's not an accident that in Laylatul Mi'raj, the ascension of the Holy Prophet, when he's coming back to this worldly atmosphere, Angel Gabriel told him, Ya Rasulullah, please pass the peace and greetings of God and mine to your wife Khadija. This position of this lady that Allah sent her his peace and salutation. This is really a great example that this marriage relationship between Khadija and the Prophet was a perfect example of love, passion, forgiveness, understanding, working together, worshiping together, and sharing their wisdom and everything that they had for the mission of Islam. The Prophet said, خيركم خيركم لعيالكم وأنا خيركم لعيالي. The best of you are the ones who are best to their family, and I am best to my family. He said that this is an example, the life of Prophet and Khadija, a pattern of family life with all family values for all the families. He said, when you say to your wife, when I love you, هذه كلمة لا تنساها أبدا. Your wife would never forget this word of love, this expression of kindness that you say it to her. Not only say that I love you, the Prophet said, but he said that any action of a husband for his wife, any positive and any loving action is extremely blessing and rewarded. So that even if you feed her, like bring her water, because usually we think that the wife should bring water and food for her husband, but he said that إن الرجل لا يؤجر or يؤجر في رفع اللقمة إلى فم امرأته. When he picked up a piece of food on the table and as a gesture of kindness and love, raised his hand and put this piece of food in the mouth of his wife, Allah would reward this guy for this act of kindness. This is how the family values matter in relationship between the Prophet and Sayyidah Khadija. I know that many Muslims, they know only one word from the Quran, and that is اضربوهن, hit them. And now for 1400 years this discussion has been going on that what is really that, how hard I can hit my wife, that is the question, and how many times a day? My goodness. Out of more than 6,000 verses in the Quran, You chose only one verse? What about the verse that Allah says, جَعَلَ بَيْنَكُمْ مَوَدَّةً وَرَحْمَةً? A husband and wife relationship is love and compassion. You forgot about that verse. You forget about the verse that هُنَّ لِبَاسٌ لَكُمْ وَأَنْتُمْ لِبَاسٌ لَهُنَّ. Husband and wife relationship just like clothes. They are so close to each other, so compassionate, and so protective of one another. Just like dress, nothing is closer to us than our dress. You forgot about all these verses, that marriage is a mithaqan ghalidha. This is a great covenant between husband and wife. And then you chose only one verse, and even that verse was not understood properly. That doesn't mean that anybody has permission just to go ahead and hit someone else. Unfortunately, this family and domestic violence and all these problems have become a social problem, not only in Muslim community, in community in general. You just heard a while ago, I mentioned to you that lady who was planning, hiring a hitman to go to her house, giving him the key and the map and money and authority and date and time to kill her husband and share with him the life insurance for $50,000 out of $400,000. My goodness, this happened in the society, a real thing. Why? Why so much problem? Because of impatience and arrogance and anger and greed and money issue and too many expectations. This happened. Well, if we look at the example of Khadija alayhi salam, the example of love and smiling and friendship and support and solidarity at a time of happiness, at a time of sadness, this most powerful, wealthy woman of Arabia became hungry and homeless out of her loyalty and sacrifice to her husband. And this is why the Prophet always remembered her and prayed for her. And some people were jealous. Even one time Aisha said, Ya Rasulullah, I'm younger than her and educated girl and all, and you still talk about Khadija. I'm better. And the Prophet explained that that's not the case. She was the first one who expressed her faith and submission to my mission and continued her loyalty till the last minute. No one can be a substitute for Sayyidah Khadija. So it's very, very important that we honor the memory of Sayyidah Khadija on the day of her death, which made the whole year of the anniversary, the death of Sayyidah Khadija became Amul Huzn, the year of sadness and depression. It was the best friend and the most faithful wife of the Holy Prophet. That's very, very important that we follow these family values and we learn from Prophet and his wife Sayyidah Khadija. And learn the role of ladies in history of our religion. And if it was not for Sayyidah Khadija, Islam wouldn't be successful. If it was not for Sayyidah Fatima, for Sayyidah Zainab, we have these great ladies. Unfortunately, because of ignorance, you heard about this Malala, this girl from Pakistan. She was 16 years old, that she was shot on her head and neck by Taliban because she was promoting education among the Pakistani and Afghani girls. And miraculously, she survived. They were killing her. That is haram for women, for female to go to school. And they say it in the name of Islam. Can you imagine? And that happened in Pakistan, Afghanistan, and then today there was something in the news that in University of California that Sadiya Safiuddin, a muhajjaba girl, a practicing Muslim, she was confirmed as a member of Board of Education or the student board in University of California. There was some Jewish group who were against it, but university ignored their opposition and confirmed the membership of this muhajjaba, a lady, a female student with hijab, practicing Muslim. Oh my goodness, in a Muslim country, in Afghanistan, Pakistan, they killed the girls because of education, and here they promote them despite of all the opposition. That means that yes, over there we have too many Muslims, but we don't have that much Islam. Here we don't have too many Muslims, but apparently we have more Islam in America than some of those Muslim places, and that's shame. So that was one thing about Sayyidah Khadija. And I know our speaker here, I don't want to continue, just mention that Laylatul Jum'ah, tomorrow is Friday, and we have Friday prayer here. And there is a very important subject that I will discuss tomorrow during Friday prayer, the concept of dua, because it's the month of Ramadan, and the month of fasting, month of recitation of the Quran, and the month of dua. The best times for dua, and how to make dua, and for whom to make dua. This is an important issue that I like to invite everyone to be here for Friday prayer tomorrow at 1:30, because our prayers, our salat is Mi'raj al-Mu'min. And I can emphasize more how important is that we pay attention to our prayer, brothers and sisters. As-salatu mi'raj al-mu'min, inna salata tanha an al-fahsha wal-munkar. This is very, very important, and especially on Friday, that in our hadith we say, Inna Allah ikhtara min al-ayyam yawm al-jum'ah. God chose the Friday as a day of divine. Inna yawm al-jum'ah sayyidul ayyam. The master of all the days is Friday. Al-jum'atu hajjul masakin. You know, we have two chapters in the Quran, one chapter al-jum'ah and one chapter al-hajj. Out of all these articles of faith, only two of them mentioned by name as a chapter. One is Friday prayer and one is Hajj. That means the Hajj is that international global gathering, but the Jum'ah prayer is a little domestic local gathering. If you cannot participate in the global congregation of Hajj, at least participate in the domestic congregation of Friday. That Imam Baghr alayhi salam said that if somebody didn't go to Friday prayer without any excuse, he is able to go, she is able to go, but for no excuse, ignored Friday prayer for 3 weeks, this person is considered to be hypocrite in the eyes of our tradition. That means his soul and her soul is going to be gone and lost because of the absence in this Friday, which is a day of mobilization of the Muslim, a day of organization, a day of congregation and cooperation, that we get together and we visit one another and we make our community a strong, united community against corruption, against oppression, against injustice, against evil, against division. And we need that, brothers and sisters, at this time that it is the most dangerous time in history of Muslim community globally, and especially in the Middle East, with all this mess and chaos and confusion and crime and crisis that's going on. We need this mobilization, we need this organization, and Salatul Jum'ah is a great step toward the strength of Muslim community against those ignorant who call themselves Muslim. They used to call themselves Wahhabi, but now this word became embarrassing. Now they call themselves Salafi. Now they don't call it, because Wahhabi was embarrassed enough that they don't want to use that word anymore. They call themselves Salafi. I'm going to pray for them, even for the Salafis, tomorrow in Friday prayer. Because if our Prophet was Rahmatan lil Alameen, then we have to be merciful for humanity. We pray to Allah to guide them, to correct them, to tell them that it was wrong for a human being to eat another human being's flesh and heart and liver and lung, and to call it Allahu Akbar and to call it justified in the name of Islam. That is something that we want to do very special prayer tomorrow. And how many of you by hand think are able to make it tomorrow to prayer? How many? How many are coming? MashaAllah, a good number. You are coming, except somebody is sick or traveling or blind or totally handicapped. Everyone else should come to Friday prayer and enjoy the Salat. So it's the right time to continue this program, and our wonderful lady, Sister Zainab, that she is really a great example of that Sayyidah Khadija that we are talking about, the same line and the same path. She is a sister that she got thousands of votes in the last election, but inshallah in the coming one we need even more and more thousands of votes to have our sisters in the position that the ladies are part of the decision-making process in the masjid, in the school, in the university, and in the community. So we welcome her to continue introduce the rest of the program. بعد الصلوات على محمد وآل محمد.
Thank you, Imam Elahi, for those wonderful words of wisdom. I can't help to think during his lecture that he touched upon a lot of issues that go back to the most important thing, which is our youth, our children. How important it is to bring our kids to the mosques, how important it is to surround them in an environment that will encourage them to grow, but grow successfully. As Muslims, as a part of the community as a whole, as a citizen. I had this conversation with one of my Christian friends at work. And I told her, I brought my nieces yesterday to listen to the lecture, which was phenomenal. But they kept moving, and we were sitting up in the front row, and it was pretty embarrassing, so I'm like, stop moving. So if you think that's bad, my son, when he's in church, he zips him and his brother up in one jacket, and they start moving around. And when we have to stand up and pray, they fall over. I'm like, that's pretty bad. I go, but you know what? The good thing is, and this is something that I learned, bring them either way. Whether they're running around or sitting next to you, hopefully they're sitting next to you, but bring them. Surround them in the environment that will encourage them. Keep them with you. Because everyone goes back to their origin. Teach them from the beginning, and when they grow, they'll grow as successful Muslims. I mentioned my friend who's